I just upgraded the cooler on my AMD Framework computer. Let me show you. And here it is. As you can see here, this particular cooler is meant for the newer AMD Ryzen AI 300 series. Mine is the previous version, the 7040 series, but according to several people on Reddit, they should be compatible and they should work much better. So that's actually the main reason I'm giving this a try at all, because several people on Reddit said it was great. Alright, let's bring the computer. Before I do the swap, I have to establish a baseline. So I ran some tests. I kept it simple. I just ran the stress test for 2 minutes a few times, both in the balanced and performance power profile. Alright, let's swap the cooler. So I grabbed my machine, the Flying Lotus. If you haven't seen my other video about it, it's basically all framework components inside a custom case. I just want to mention it because I want to be clear that this is all framework hardware, it's just in a different case. And of course, performance in the actual laptop might be slightly different to this, but the difference from cooler to cooler should be fairly similar. And by the way, I could have done this swap by just taking off the cover, but you'll see me disassembling it all the way because it also happens that I wanted to test a new case color. So I took the opportunity to do both of those modifications in a single go. But if you are doing this swap, you can pretty much just do it by taking off the cover. And here we are. The most notable difference is the much bigger pipe on the new cooler. Hopefully that means it's much more efficient, but we'll see. The swap itself looked pretty straightforward. There are just 5 screws, 2 by the fan, and 3 around the CPU. I checked their guide just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And according to it, you're supposed to take the screws around the fan first, and then the ones around the CPU, and those are numbered, and when you take the cooler off, you're supposed to unscrew them in reverse order. So 3, 2, and then 1. Then I unplugged the fan from the board, and it was free! The new cooler comes with thermal paste already applied, so I wiped the remaining paste with a microfiber cloth. The CPU is actually very shiny, but in the video it looks weird for some reason. I guess it's reflecting something and I didn't really get a different angle. But in reality, it's pretty shiny, like a mirror. In any case, I was now ready to install the new cooler. I softly placed it, making sure that everything lines up. I connected the fan, and then I tightened the screws by the CPU in the same order as the numbers. So 1, then 2, and then 3. After that, I tightened the screws next to the fan, and at this point, I would be done if I had done this inside the computer, like probably all of you will do if you do this. It would just be a matter of putting the cover in. But since I also wanted to test the new color, I still had to swap all the components into the new body. At this point, I've done it so many times that it took me less than 12 minutes. Oh, wait, I forgot to put the power button. Like I was saying, I've done this so many times that swapping everything over took me like 15 minutes. And now I'm ready to test the new cooler. I ran the same tests I ran with the original cooler, and here's what happened. With the original cooler in the default power profile, the CPU quickly reached around 96 degrees before it slowed down to slightly below its base clock. And with that, the temperature went down a bit as well. It stabilized with the temperature around 83 degrees and the clock around 3.25 GHz or so. In the same test with the new cooler, the temperature rose to 75 degrees and came down a few degrees after that. Towards the end of the test, the coolers ended up having a difference of around 15 degrees, but a speed difference of only 0.2 GHz, which is lower than I expected, to be honest. In the performance profile, the temperature difference between coolers is even more pronounced. The new cooler tracked around 25 degrees under the original one. However, that only translated to a speed difference of 0.1 GHz, which is not much. So, what does all of this tell me? For one, that 15 to 25 degree difference is impressive. The new cooler is indeed much more efficient. Unfortunately, that only translates to a speed gain of around 0.1 to 0.2 GHz, which is about how fast the computers making the original Jurassic Park were, but is not that impressive in 2025. The obvious reason for this discrepancy is that this board was not tuned with this cooler in mind, so it doesn't know how to take advantage of it. In theory, those extra 25 degrees would mean that the board could push the CPU harder until it gets hot again. As long as the rest of the hardware can take it, that could potentially be added with a firmware update. But I just don't see why that would be a priority for Framework, so I'm not holding my breath. Another possibility is to use that thermal headroom to lower the fan speeds instead. And that would make the computer quieter, which should be possible right now with software. I've just been busy and haven't had a chance to look into that yet. You'll have to decide for yourself if the $45 are worth what you get, which is 2 to 5% extra power. The lower temperatures in theory mean that the CPU should last longer. Plus, the fan does take a bit longer to kick in, which does make the computer quieter when the load comes in short bursts. As for the sound of the fan itself, it is very similar, but I think I slightly prefer the sound of the new one. And that's it. I hope that was helpful. If you decide you do want to do the upgrade, you can find out the Framework website, or there's a link in the description. Also, if you want to build your Flying Lotus, there's also a link in the description. Anyway, see you on the next one. Have a good one. Bye.